Hello guys, and welcome into a brand new series I'm doing. I'm super excited to do this. There's a brand new-ish, to me, conspiracy theory Iceberg tier list thing going around. Kind of like the one Wendigoon did several years back. But this one is a lot shorter, a lot more concise, and it's not going to take 9 hours to get through. So I really wanted to cover this. This video is obviously going to be tier 1. It's going to be very surface level stuff. Easy stuff to understand. Some of these I just put down just because they're funny, and a lot of them, like Bigfoot and UFOs and crop circles, I've kind of left off the list because I'm trying to make these videos as concise as possible, and I know that when I get towards the end I'm gonna have to include everything, so I'm cutting my research down while I can. But let's get right into tier 1. The first entry on tier 1, and probably the most well-known thing I allowed to make this list, is the Bush did 9/11 theory. Now, just to preface this entire list, obviously just because something is on this list and I explain it doesn't mean I believe it. I don't believe most of the things on this list. It's a lot of out there crazy stuff. But anyway, let's get into it. So Bush did 9/11. So a lot of the proponents of this theory will point to the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, saying we were just there to get oil and we were looking for a reason to attack and invade the Middle East. And 9/11 was the perfect way to get the American people behind the idea of a counter-terror based invasion of the Middle East in order for us to secure resources there. There are also more out there conspiracy people who believe we were there to secure the Stargate. So do with that knowledge what you will, I suppose. Alright, so the next term on tier 1, and forgive me if I sound sick, it's because I am. I've calmed down with a cold, but I'm deciding to record this while I'm stuck in during a winter storm quite some time after I recorded the first 2 terms. So the next term on tier 1 is the Simpsons can predict the future. It's very overplayed at this point. You know, you've seen it on TikTok with that weird freaking wavy music in the background that all these conspiracy TikToks like to use. Like, did you know that the Simpsons predicted it? Yeah, we get it, bud. Okay, go farm your likes somewhere else. But this idea is that the Simpsons, or the creators, are somehow able to predict the future. It's a very well-known conspiracy, and it made this list just to kind of get an idea of the kind of stuff that's on tier 1. One big example, just to kind of list some, is that in the 2000, the episode Bart to the Future, that it predicted Donald Trump becoming president. Or in the episode Friends and Family from 2016, it predicted the Apple Vision Pro and other VR headsets. And it also says that it predicted smartwatches and FaceTime in the year 1995. So yeah, I think a lot of this is just, when you have a show that runs that long, you end up getting some things right with your gags and goofs that you add into the episode, but it's an interesting theory nonetheless. The next term on the iceberg is Atlantis. I know you have heard this one. It is very popular. Isn't there also like a Disney movie about it? The Atlantis theory is the theory of a lost civilization, naval empire basically, first spoken about by the philosopher Plato in 360 BC. Modern proponents of this theory will use this historical work to try to say that there was an ancient, advanced civilization that existed long before we did, and people like Graham Hancock will use this for his like ancient apocalypse narrative. It's also used a lot by ancient aliens people, and you've also got this modern movement nowadays that says that Atlanta is Atlantis because of the ley lines or whatever, which is just freaking wonderful. Every day we stray further from God's light. Have you ever seen This Man? This Man is literally the title of the next entry in the iceberg, and it is about a face that has supposedly been seen in multiple people's dreams so much throughout history. And basically the kind of lesson, I guess you would say, the implications, there we go, of this theory is that if all of these people are seeing this one man in their dreams, then why is it? Is it some kind of astral projection, or is there some kind of like spiritual thing going on, or is it just some really big parapsychology episode? The world may never know. So the next entry on the iceberg is sim theory. Now it's just a simple, kind of, again, overplayed idea, but that's a lot of the theories on this part of the iceberg, that we live in a simulation ran by a computer, by some kind of game master on the other side. Some people believe it is aliens. Some people believe it is actually God, that God runs the simulation. So, sim theory is really branched out. It is basically the theory that the Matrix is real, and that we all live in a computer-ran simulation, and that everything around you is not real. And some people will take this and connect it with the idea of I think, therefore I am, basically saying that everyone around you are NPCs, and the only person that you can trust and believe is real is yourself. The next entry on the iceberg is the Mandela effect. Now, obviously, you've heard of this one. It is a really cool concept, though. It's one of those parallel universe concepts. The origin of the theory is that Nelson Mandela supposedly died in prison. So a lot of people remember seeing that on the news, but he turned out to become, I believe, the president of the country he was being held in. So a lot of people were like, well, wait, I thought he died. And until then, it has really branched out. A couple of good examples is the Monopoly Man not having a monocle. There's no hyphen in Kit Kat. My personal favorite, because I actually remember this one, I actually have this Mandela effect, is I swear the Fruit of the Loom logo used to have a cornucopia in it, but it doesn't. It never has, apparently, according to most people. So it's kind of just this whole thing where when universes cross, sometimes these logos or these things we remember will get swapped, and it is a very, very cool concept. The next entry on the iceberg, and I believe I probably need to be very careful the way I talk about this one, is the Epstein death conspiracies. Now, this is very culturally relevant. This is going to date this particular part of the recording, but we just had a bunch of the Epstein files come out. Sadly, there is no elite pedophiles on this part of the iceberg, but the theory is that Jeffrey Epstein did not, in fact, kill himself. People will cite many things, such as, like, I believe the cameras in his cell malfunctioned, and this is one that I do personally believe. I believe Epstein did not kill himself. By the way, if I killed myself, no, I didn't. I'm not suicidal, and I know how to swim. I do not own a gun, and let's see, I believe that about covers my bases. Oh, and I'm not acrobatic enough to tie my hands behind my back and shoot myself in the head 4 times. So we will just ensure that all of our bases are covered there. The next entry on the iceberg is vampires. This is an overarching theory concept. I'm going to go 2 different directions with it, so just bear with me here. And the first direction is the vampire burials, a lot of times in medieval Europe, where they would bury people with stakes through their hearts, or they would bury them upside down, so they would dig to hell if they woke back up, which is very interesting. And the entire concept that why would people just be randomly flipping people upside down in their graves and driving stakes through their heart if they didn't have any reason to. And the other one is modern vampirism. It's proven. It's a real thing. There are modern people that drink blood, although I will say usually with modern blood drinkers-ish, from what I've seen, is consensual. But it's the idea that vampirism is practiced in underground cults and throughout the world to this day. So this next one is a doozy. The Michael Obama theory is the theory that Michelle Obama is actually a man. This is insanity, and I kind of heard about this one before the iceberg, but I really did a dive into it, and it's crazy. It's the theory that, based on some pictures and things where you can see her pole, if you will. The theory is that Michelle Obama is actually a man, and I think it's crazy that this made it on this iceberg. The next entry on the list is the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox is basically pointing out the contradiction between the fact that there's a high probability of alien civilizations in the universe, but we have no evidence of contact or even evidence of their existence. This is also called the "where is everybody" theory, and it was summarized by physicist Enrico Fermi. So the potential explanations range from advanced civilizations basically destroying themselves very quickly, kind of like a candle that burns brighter but burns quicker kind of idea. That's called the Great Filter. Or there's the zoo hypothesis, which we might talk about later in the Iceberg, which is the idea that we are actually being watched by aliens, and the reason we have no idea where they are is because they're intentionally hiding themselves from us so they can watch us. This goes with the zoo hypothesis and prison Earth and stuff that is likely going to come up later in the Iceberg. There's also just the idea that they're communicating in ways that we could not possibly detect. But basically the Fermi paradox is if there are so many aliens that have to exist because the universe is so big, why don't we know about them? The next entry on the Iceberg is the many worlds theory, which is exactly what it sounds like. Many worlds, many sort of parallel universes. It's basically string theory. I'm not going to ramble on too much about this one. It just connects the Mandela effect and many theories that are going to come up later in the Iceberg. The next theory on the Iceberg is flat Earth. Now, you've obviously heard of this one. It's one of the biggest conspiracies in the world. People still believe this for some ungodly reason. But the idea that the Earth is a flat plane, there are multiple different theories about this. Some believe it is surrounded by an ice wall. Some believe that the reason we stick to it is because it's constantly moving vertically. It's a very, very common idea. Some people will point to certain experiments with sea level, or some people will point to scripture to try to prove it, but basically it is the idea that the Earth is flat. The final entry that I'm going to do on tier 1 is the 5G conspiracy. Now, this goes multiple different directions. There's a lot of this. Some people believe that the 5G waves are going to be used to brain control people. Others believe it causes cancer or sterilization. Others believe it's just an advanced form of government tracking. People will point to the fact that 5G kind of just came out of nowhere, and the fact that they were dressing up 5G towers as trees, which I have seen that. I mean, that was in my area. So it's just the idea that 5G is more than the government is letting on, and that it is very harmful to us. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is tier 1 of my brand new conspiracy theory Iceberg video. So we're going to go through all the different tiers. As we get further down, tiers might take multiple videos, but this is the introduction just to whet your appetite. I hope you enjoyed it. By the way, there's a new hype feature. Why don't you hype this video so it gets out to more people? I mean it. Do it now. Anyway, guys, have a wonderful day.